The Russian Defense Ministry claimed that Russian soldiers had regained control of 10 settlements earlier captured by Ukraine in Kursk Oblast. The statement follows reports claiming that Moscow had launched a counterattack in the embattled Russian region, which has been partially held by Ukrainian forces since the start of the cross-border incursion. President Volodymyr Zelensky confirmed these claims. "Everything is going according to our plan," he said. The Ukrainian crowdsourced monitoring group Deep State wrote that the situation on the left flank of Ukrainian forces in Kursk Oblast has worsened. Russians began active assault operations, ferrying armored vehicles across the Sime River and other smaller rivers. Ukraine was previously targeting bridges and pontoon crossings across the Sime River in an apparent attempt to cut off Russian troops in the Glushkovsky district. But Russia's defense ministry released footage showing what it said were pontoon crossings being built over a river and Ukrainian military vehicles destroyed by Russian troops. It said the videos were filmed in the Kursk region. Recall, over a month ago Ukraine launched a daring incursion into Russia's Kursk region, partly in the hope that Russia would divert its troops there from Donetsk. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said Russian forces have started counteroffensive actions in the region but insisted that Ukrainian troops had anticipated such a response. Zelensky earlier said that Ukraine controls over 1,300 square kilometers and around 100 settlements in Kursk Oblast. According to Kiev, the incursion was meant to divert Russian forces from Donbass and to prevent further Russian cross-border attacks from Kursk Oblast.
Russia's nuclear doctrine urgently needs to be revised to allow a nuclear response to any major military aggression against the country, former Kremlin advisor Sergei Karaganov said. The former foreign policy advisor to the deputy head of the Russian presidential administration told the Kommersant Daily that the existing document is woefully outdated and no longer serves as an effective deterrent. Adopted in 2020, Russia's nuclear doctrine does not provide for preemptive nuclear strikes and envisages the use of nuclear weapons only in exceptional cases in the face of a threat to the sovereignty and territorial integrity of the country. According to Karaganov, this approach has rendered it nearly useless and has effectively excluded the nuclear deterrence factor from Russia's military and foreign policy arsenal. We have allowed the situation to deteriorate to a point when our adversaries believe we will not use nuclear weapons under any circumstances, the political scientist said. Having nuclear weapons without being able to convince your enemies that you are ready to use them is suicide. A failure to have an effective nuclear deterrent policy would plunge the world into a series of wars, that would inevitably turn nuclear and end up with the World War III. Karaganov believes, adding that this could happen within the span of several years. The main goal of a doctrine should be in convincing all current and future enemies that Russia is ready to use nuclear weapons. His words came amid the continued Ukrainian incursion into Russia's Kursk region and Kiev's attempt to receive permission for the use of Western long-range missiles to strike deep inside the country. It is time we stated that any massive strikes against our territory gives us a right to respond with a nuclear strike, Karaganov insists. He also called on Moscow to clearly define the nuclear escalation steps in the next doctrine to leave Russia's adversaries no room for doubt about whether it is ready to use its nuclear arsenal and when. President Vladimir Putin has repeatedly demonstrated a more reserved position on the issue. Talking to Karaganov at the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum in June, the president said that Russia was not brandishing nuclear weapons and expressed hope that it will never come to a nuclear exchange between Moscow and the West. Moscow has no reason to even think about using nuclear weapons, he said at the time, calling on Russian officials to not even touch upon the subject of nuclear weapons unless absolutely necessary. Later in June, Putin also said that Russia did not need a preventive strike yet, because the enemy is guaranteed to be destroyed in a retaliatory strike. He did not rule out changes to the doctrine, though.